there's a lot riding on today. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Australia has been in the diplomatic deep freeze for nigh on 6 years. The effect? Trade sanctions worth $20 billion a year. It's made it harder and more expensive to do business. So, is today the breakthrough? No one expects an immediate winding back of sanctions, but surely face-to-face talks are a good start. Let's go live now to Andrew Clennell. He joins us. Andrew, what is the latest? When will this meeting happen and how are expectations being managed?
Well, expectations are being managed, Laura. It will be at about 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Time, and it's expected to go for as long as 3 hours, which is the same amount of time that the meeting between Joe Biden and President Xi went for last evening. Has to be said, it does feel very much like a historic moment here in Bali. As you alluded to, first proper bilateral in 6 years. There was a pull aside for Scott Morrison at the G20 in Osaka in 2019, but it was Malcolm Turnbull who had the last meeting with the Chinese leader back in 2016, and President Xi has now agreed to this bilateral with Anthony Albanese, who announced it upon arriving in Bali yesterday.
Tomorrow I will be having a bilateral meeting with Chinese President Xi, and that will take place tomorrow afternoon, and I'm looking forward to that constructive meeting.
And there'd been talk around the place that Anthony Albanese might insist the trade sanctions come off first before there was a bilat. The PM's view is you need some sort of engagement for any hope to get those trade sanctions off. Don't think we'll see that at the end of this meeting, but the PM will be hoping this is the start of a rapprochement that could allow that to occur.
We enter this discussion with goodwill. There are no preconditions on this discussion. I'm looking forward to having constructive dialogue. I've said since I became the Prime Minister, but before then as well, that dialogue is always a good thing. We need to talk in order to develop mutual understanding.
The Australian government might have been cagey and it might have only been announced yesterday, but it feels a bit like this meeting's been organised for weeks, but the PM was probably a bit paranoid about announcing it, given that it could fall over at any stage. He was a bit cagey here when I asked him when it was locked in last night.
So when was the meeting locked in?
It was locked in when it was locked in. We agreed when there would be an announcement mutually by Australia and China.
So last night, Anthony Albanese addressed the B20 summit. Treasurer Jim Chalmers was there. I had a chat to him over the sidelines. He saw big implications, as you can imagine, economically with this meeting with President Xi. We'll play the full interview on Afternoon Agenda this afternoon, but here's a snippet of it.
I think it's a really important opportunity to engage. We've said for some time now we want to try and stabilise this absolutely key relationship, and that's what this conversation will be all about. Of course, we have our fair share of differences, but we believe that if you engage meaningfully and calmly and in a considered way, then that gives you the best opportunity of stabilising the relationship.
Fair bit of excitement here last night from the head of the Business Council of Australia, Jennifer Westacott. She spoke about the government resetting relationships. Well, it's a bit early for that. There's still going to be some tension in the room, even if the words are more conciliatory from President Xi to Anthony Albanese, as they were from President Xi to Joe Biden last night. But the business community certainly seem optimistic about China and Australia meeting again.
But the Prime Minister's presence here at the B20 and the G20, I think, reflects the huge reset that the Prime Minister's doing on foreign policy.
So, Laura, it really is the main event of the day for obvious reasons. There aren't a lot of other bilats on the schedule for Anthony Albanese today. He'll probably meet Emmanuel Macron tomorrow. But, boy, are we waiting here with some anticipation for this meeting, which for a while there you thought might never come.